During the New Kingdom, the ancient Egyptian kings wanted to be buried here, in that remote location in the west bank of Luxor in the Valley of the Kings. Here there are 64 tombs belonging to the kings of the 18th, 19th and 20th dynasties. Why did they want to be buried here? Because of the mountain behind me, which is topped out with a pyramidical shape. That pyramid resembles the pyramid of Giza. So the New Kingdom kings wanted to imitate their ancestors who lived almost 1,500 years earlier by being buried under a pyramid.
King Ai is a controversial king who ruled Egypt after the sudden death of King Tutankhamun, who died too young at the age of 18, yet became the most famous pharaoh in the history of ancient Egypt. But Ai wasn't of royal blood, nor of a suitable age to sit on the throne of Egypt. So what brought him with Akhenaten to this remote virgin land of Amarna? And what's the mystery behind this man? Beyond doubt, Ai didn't come from a noble family where members inherited superior jobs and were proud to brag about it. The best proof of that is that he had ignored mentioning both his parents in each and every occasion which required their praising, as the traditions of noblemen of Egypt. As for his rank, an inscription on a small box that's in Berlin Museum states that he was a knight, thanks to his wife Ti, who was a great wet nurse of Queen Nefertiti. But he was so ashamed of his military titles that he hasn't mentioned them in his tomb in Tell el-Amarna. On the other hand, he was proud of his other title, Father of God, to the extent of adding it to his cartouche when he became a king. Ai was a priest during the reign of Akhenaten, but he hasn't mentioned his deeds and activities anywhere. Nevertheless, he was one of the king's biggest supporters. In fact, he was the only one amongst Akhenaten's men who kept his position when Tutankhamun took the throne. The rest of the men who contributed in spreading his cult seem to have disappeared from the political scene. After the death of Akhenaten, Egypt passed by a short period of internal troubles, which endangered the throne. But thanks to Ai and his hidden role to support Semenchkara, the other brother of Akhenaten, to destroy Nefertiti's plans against him and to rule Egypt. It was also Ai who successfully placed Tutankhamun on the throne after arranging his marriage to Ankh-es-en-Pa-Aton, the third daughter of Akhenaten. After settling the political situation in Egypt, he went on with his reparations, which included cancelling the war rules of Akhenaten and returning the cult of Amun to win back the power of the priests and the army in order to support the new royal family. This act declared the official war between him and Queen Nefertiti. No clue about the position that Ai occupied during the reign of Tutankhamun, for the monuments of this period has no mention of Ai, but his tomb in Amarna show his high position during the reign of Akhenaten. The whole of the tomb is quite big compared to the rest of the tombs here, not forgetting that what adds to its majestic style is that it was totally cut out in the rocks. 24 columns were intended to be cut out here, but work started in 15 only. They were supposed to be papyri columns. 4 were actually done, The scenes in the tomb are quite traditional, for they describe I receiving donations and gifts from Akhenaton. It's the least he deserved after his services to the king and after supporting his religious revolution in all its stages. The importance of I's tomb is that it comprises the complete version of Aton's anthem. This chant, with which King Akhenaton appealed to his god Aton, has a special importance from both religious and literature sides. As for the religious side, researchers compared between it and the Psalm number 104 of Prophet David's Psalms. Regarding the similarity of some sentences and vocabulary, and also the theme of the chant, in spite of the 400 years between them. From literature point of view, the anthem is a high piece of writing which level can place it among the international splendid pieces of literature within the known frames of eloquence, language, and simplicity of expression. The word Aton means the sun, or the visible disk of the sun. During Akhenaton's reign, Aton became the only god of the country, according to his call for the unity of God. Aton doesn't take a human or an animal's shape, but was only pictured as a sun disk, which raised looked like arms, ending by hands that offer life and power and vitality. That's how he's found in tombs and in many of the houses of Tal el-Amarna on stelae which were placed there to be worshipped. Aton wasn't worshipped for his materialistic existence as a sun disk, but for being the force that's inherent in it. It's the power that gives life, light, illumination, and heat to the existence, for he is a creator god and an offerer of life. Here in his tomb, I is represented with his wife Ti by the entrance. They're both wearing wigs, which reflect Amarna's beautiful art of relief. Down the aisle that leads to the burial chamber, a huge rounded carved rock is placed to prevent the digging by anyone who might think of usurping the tomb. Especially that after the death of Akhenaton, I left this tomb and went to live in Thebes, where he was buried. But that's just another chapter of the interesting life of I, who lived his life to its full and set the example of how old age can never stop a man from fulfilling the impossible dream and becoming a king. I sat on the throne of Egypt after the death of King Tutankhamun, for he is a father god who acquired a high rank during the reign of King Akhenaton, and thus his successor, or King Tutankhamun, the young pharaoh who ruled at the age of 9 and died 9 years later. It's unknown if I married the widow of King Tut or one of the princesses of the royal family to earn the right of becoming the ruler of Egypt. A ring carrying both their names together was found, but putting the title of the god's father within his cartouche proves that he was connected somehow with the royal family. During the reign of King Tutankhamun, I did all the necessary reformings concerning political and religious conditions. In fact, it was him who arranged the marriage of Tut with the third daughter of Akhenaton, whose name was Ankh-Sen-Pa-Aton, so that he could claim the throne. Under the name of Tut, he sent the army abroad to achieve two goals, the first of which is to resecure the Egyptian influence over Syria, and second, to make way in front of him to establish a new governmental system. So he placed a man heading the army, but he wasn't of royal blood. That man was Hurem-Heb, who ruled Egypt after I, and destroyed his monuments. As for I, he started his reformations by returning all the possessions of Ammon to his priests, and by the end of the first year of King Tut's reign, all the reformations were finished, and King Tut converted his name from Tutankhaton to Tutankhamun, and his queen became Ankh-es-Amon instead of Ankh-es-En-Pa-Aton. Then A brought them back with him to Thebes, where they all stayed until the death of King Tut. In the funeral of King Tut, I was seen marching ahead of it, dressed as a king. On the eastern wall of King Tut's burial chamber, a high-ranked man is seen, specialized in the funeral. That man is the head of the army, Hurem-Heb. I was represented in that scene as a king, which shows how I honored Hurem-Heb and left no room for grudge or enviness into the soul of that young leader. But what happened later was covered with a pitch-black curtain. For all what we heard of I is that he visited Memphis on the third day of the 11th month of the first year of his reign, and it was the headquarters of Hurem-Heb. As for the last date in which King I was mentioned, was the 5th year, the 12th month, the first day. I might have died, or Hurem-Heb could have revolted against him after the death of Ankh-Sen-Pa-Aton. What's well known is that when the death of I was announced, Hurem-Heb was in Memphis, and he marched out of it in a great procession. In his reliefs, Hurem-Heb ignored the period of the reign of I altogether. Moreover, he destroyed his monuments and removed his name wherever it was found. As for his funerary temple, which I usurped from King Tut, Hurem-Heb seized it for himself, for he considered himself its true founder, but he erased Tut's name and placed his name instead. In that aspect, he wasn't far from truth, for he is the one who ordered the construction of King Tut when he was his guardian. The proof is that he didn't vandalize his tomb or placed his name on King Tut's personal belongings. As for his attitude with I, it was completely different, for he had shown him a usurper to the throne, which he considered legally was his, being the guardian of King Tut. For that, very few of I's monuments remained. One is his tomb in Amarna, and the other is his beautiful tomb in Thebes. King I tomb structure is a prototype of the tomb of the Valley of the Kings, although it is situated in another valley nearby, called the Valley of the Monkeys. It's composed of a corridor with steps that lead to a chamber preceding the burial chamber, which is decorated. The scenes are a mix of religious books and daily life scenes, which is quite unusual. The most captivating scene that steals the attention is the monkey scene. It's the one after which the whole valley got its name. This is part of the book of the Imidwat, or What Exists in the Nether World. This book is divided into 12 chapters, or hours of night time. That's when the sleeping dead accompanies the sun in its night journey on its boat. Each chapter represents one of the 12 hours and is a complete unit, unattached to the rest of them, either before or after. The first hour is called El Mahdi, or the Justice One. It's the only one with 4 rows. The rest of the hours have 3 rows each. The baboons are a part of that first hour. The middle row comprises the sun boat, in which the sun is represented in the form of Atom, which is its night form. The upper and lower rows are the 2 banks of the river, and display the creatures and the events which the sun god and the deceased will encounter. He should know all what he's going to face in order to overcome these obstacles and reach the 12th hour, and be reborn again with the sun in the morning, and hence enjoy a happy eternal life in the nether world. The first hour represents dusk, right after sunset, when a bit of light remains in the west. It's an image opposite to dawn, before sunrise in the east horizon. In that hour, the sun god or the deceased sail in the river, accompanied by his crew. 3 gods stand ahead of him. They are Webwawut, the opener of the road, and Sia, the overseer of events, and Nebet-Debet, the lady of the boat. Behind him are 5 gods, ending by Kherib, the tiller man. In the lower boat, the deceased is called Iofi, or the semen of the human. He is represented as a scarab, protected by 2 gods. He needs protection to grow, and the snakes protect him on the front. The upper and lower parts of the hour are divided into squares with a sequence of 12s and 9s. The monkeys are represented in 9s twice, once in the upper row and once in the bottom. In the upper one, they open gates to the great spirit of Ra the sun, and in the lower, the baboons cheer for the great god or the deceased, who entered now the dark nether world. The sarcophagus of Ai is placed in the middle of the chamber, cut out of granite, and guarded by the 4 guardian goddesses, Isis and her sister Nephthys, and Serket and Neith. Each has wings that are spread to protect the mummy. The king is represented in relationship with other deities, like Yamentet, the goddess of the west, who gives him life through his nose. The other goddess is Hathor, the cow goddess, who is a lady with 2 horns and a sun disk in the middle. She offers him libation. Osiris offers Ai protection and a fair justice in the nether world. Although his name inside his cartouche was destroyed, probably by his successor Horemheb, yet his beautiful daily activities are best preserved, like his seen hunting birds with boomerangs and plucking papyrus in the marshes. The empty chamber was used for storing the funerary furniture, which were gone long time ago. But thanks to the Imidwat book and its curses with its beautiful paintings that preserve the tomb in that excellent condition. And most of all, thanks to King Ai for leaving us with his both beautiful tombs of Amarna and Luxor, in spite of his short time of ruling. Indeed, thanks to the baboons of the netherworld.